Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitch, and I'm just going to jump into our mini lecture on paraphrasing revisited, and then how you're putting a summary paragraph together. So as I like to say, the devil's in the details in transitions for both thinking about paraphrasing and taking a list of paraphrases and making them a paragraph. A paragraph and a list are not the same thing. So let's just go in here. Let's jump in. Can paraphrases go wrong? You've just been working on them. Can you encounter problems? Oh, yes, paraphrases can go wrong. And I speak from experience as someone who has written many a poor paraphrase. So these are sort of the three ways paraphrases can go wrong. And I want you to think about this information as you look through your feedback on your paraphrases as you think about revising them. So here's the original quote from Michael Pollan. The undertow of nutritionalism is powerful. Much nutrition science qualifies as reductionist science, focusing as it does on individual nutrients, such as on certain fats or carbohydrates or antioxidants, rather than on whole foods or dietary patterns. And this is from page 420. First type of paraphrase is an awkward paraphrase, and that just means you stopped at step 2 of the 3.5-step process. So you stopped after you swapped out the words, which, as I explained in the previous lecture, it just makes for a really weird sentence. And if it's a weird sentence, it's not going to make sense to the person who's reading it. Readers, you're a reader, I'm a reader. We want stuff to be clear. We're not really patient when stuff is confusing. So we want to write the type of stuff people want to read, which means we want our reading to be as clear and concise as possible. So an awkward paraphrase is the opposite of clear and concise. It's muddy and it's too long. So let's read it. The pull of the focus on one nutrient to explain disease or health is strong. Most studies of health derived from nutrients is just like a science that oversimplifies its subject, focusing as it does on particular nutrients, such as certain fats or carbohydrates or antioxidants, instead of on complete foodstuffs or established eating practices. So that's just hard to understand. It needs step 3, which is you change the sentence structure. So you're going to cut a lot of the fat out of here, and that's going to help people understand you. A copied paraphrase. So this is when the paraphrase looks too similar to the original. So you'll see it's just a couple of words have been swapped out, and that's essentially plagiarism. And if you do that, your professors technically can fail you for the assignment. Depending on the professor, they can fail you for the class. I'm a writing teacher. I don't do that, but I'm going to make you rewrite it. So that's more work. So it's better to just not copy and push yourself to fully paraphrase. So look here, the pull of nutritionalism is powerful. The undertow of nutritionalism is powerful. It's too close. Just one word is different. Lots of nutrition science qualifies as reductionist science. Much nutrition science qualifies as reductionist science. Again, just one word, much versus lots of. Studying as it does on individual nutrients, focusing as it does on individual nutrients, rather than, and that's all the same. So this word is different. These words are different. That, right? That's not a paraphrase. So students usually do this, I think, because they're just struggling with what does this word mean? And if you can't find it in the dictionary, you should contact your professor, or you should go to the writing center with the reading and ask for some reading help. Don't do this. Push yourself to figure it out, or push yourself to get help to figure it out, because people want to help you, so you don't have to do this. Incorrect. So this is what happens when we let our own ideas kind of take over, or we aren't paying close attention. So nutrition science, a strong force, educates Americans by focusing on one particular nutrient, like omega-3s or gluten, instead of on a complete food item or an established eating practice. So most of this is good, but this verb is the wrong verb, right? This doesn't tell us that nutrition science is educational. It tells us that it's too simplistic, which would suggest it's not really educational. So this is saying the opposite. This verb right here is our problem. So you don't want an awkward or copied or incorrect paraphrase. It's easy to do these things. So give yourself time and be patient with yourself. As you get to be a better reader and writer, this work gets easier. So you avoid these mistakes. Let me know, though, if you're still struggling, if you have specific questions. I'm here through Collaborate office hours or in my physical office. I am here to help you. So how do you avoid this? Look up words you don't know and ask for help when the dictionary won't cut it, because you want to be accurate. Do all 3.5 steps of the paraphrasing. I got cut off by my awesome picture. Paraphrasing process. Remember, you type it out, you swap out the words, you change the sentence structure, and you check for accuracy. Check for accuracy, right? That would save you from that incorrect one. And then read the paraphrase out loud to somebody else, right? Your mom or dad, your partner, your best friend, your dog or cat. Even the act of reading it out loud to an animal or a doll or your desk or your lamp, you're going to hear if it sounds weird. And if it sounds weird, it's probably awkward, and you probably need to cut some of the fat. So these tips should help you write better paraphrases. They're not going to make it faster, but they're going to make the product better. And what do you do with all those paraphrases? So you weave them into a summary paragraph. What else? Of course, right? The key here is weaving. You don't just copy and paste them. The transitions are the thread that holds these things together. So how to craft the summary paragraph and why. So these are the steps. But after each step, I want you to understand why you're doing it. If you understand why you're doing it, you're going to do it rather than just because I told you. So your first sentence of a summary should introduce the author, the text, the article title, and the author's thesis or claim. Do that in the first sentence. Don't do anything else. Do that. Why? If you do that, anybody outside of our class, right? Your best friend, my professor friend across the hallway from me, your high school teacher, they're all going to understand what you're doing if you do this work. If you leave this out, people don't understand the point of your paragraph. And then why are they going to read it, right? So in that first sentence, take the opportunity to announce, hey, y'all, this is a summary. And the way you announce it is you introduce the author, the text title, and the author's thesis right away. 2, use transitions or transition devices to link your list of paragraphs together. You might condense paragraphs too. You might condense some of those, or paraphrases. You might take 2 paraphrases and stick them together if they kind of have similar ideas. Why? You're showing the logic of the argument. How do the ideas work together, right? I want to show you this list. It's probably not going to let me do it. Ta-da! Ta-da! So if you don't know, you're like, what is she talking about transitions? Here's an awesome list from Purdue OWL. They talk about transitions as bridges. They're helping the reader interpret the ideas as an argument develops, right? So part of your summary is to show how Pollen is developing these ideas, right? Is he just adding examples? Is he comparing anything? Is he giving an example, right? What's he doing? What's he doing? This is probably the hardest part, I think, the transition part. But I want you to struggle with it. It's a good struggle. Oops. And then you're using various signal phrases. Why? To avoid repetition. So you're not just going to write pollen claims, pollen claims, pollen claims. You're going to mix it up. And that's just to keep your reader from getting bored. And then you're going to check your paraphrases once more for accuracy and comprehensiveness, so you don't misrepresent or miss an important idea. So if you do these 4 steps, don't just with your paraphrases, you're going to write an awesome paragraph, a rockin' summary paragraph. What does a rockin' summary paragraph look like? I made this argument up, but it does all the things. It does all the steps listed here. So I'll show you. Kermit T. Frog, journalist and author of Sugar is Killing Us, argues that sugar is the main source of our health and social problems today. First sentence, Kermit T. Frog is our author. I even give you a little bit about him. He's a journalist versus a professor versus a plumber versus a doctor versus a nutritionalist, right? Who is he? He's a journalist. And he's the author of Sugar is Killing Us. Here is the argument I'm summarizing for you. Argues that sugar is the main source of our health and social problems today. This is his main claim or thesis, his big idea in the argument, sugar is killing us. So this first sentence introduces the author, the text, and the author's thesis, right? Introduces the author, introduces the text, introduces the thesis. Now let's look at the rest of the sentences, and then I'll show you how the other steps are present. So Frog begins by illustrating how hidden sources of sugar in our processed foods, even those with healthy labels, cause serious health problems over time, like diabetes and obesity. Too much sugar in children's diets, he contends, causes attention problems and poor self-discipline. The author then considers how these health and psychological problems cause social troubles, like an overused healthcare system and poor educational performance. Frog's simple solution to these social ills is to make sugar-filled foods more expensive with a special tax, while making healthy, whole foods cheaper. So first thing, we use transitions. So I'm using this particular verb, begins, as my transition from the thesis to what's his first idea. Then I'm using too much sugar in children's diets to link back. So this is a transition, but it's not just a simple phrase. It's a serious health problem. Then here I'm using a traditional, one of those transition phrases, then, to say this is a new idea that's similar to the one before about too much sugar. And the next sentence, which is the last one, simple solution is, this is, again, not one of those words, but I could have used in conclusion, Frog's simple solution. The solution would imply a result. And so this is the result of this. This is the solution to this problem. And then I'm using Frog all the time, or the author. Frog is his last name. Frog begins. This is also working as my signal phrase. But look in this one, this next sentence. Too much sugar. He contends. Instead of Frog, again, I used he. Contends is another signal phrase. You can use any of those verbs to describe how something's being said. Claimed, argued, questioned, contended, challenged, explained. Any of those good words to describe. Described, narrated, argues. My next signal phrase, the author considers. So I used Frog, then I used he, then I used the author, all still signal phrases, and back to Frog in the last sentence. So I'm varying those signal phrases, and then I can't really check my paraphrases because I made this argument up, but you'd want to check to make sure you captured all the ideas. The thesis will kind of help you. I needed to talk about health, sugar and health problems, and this is about sugar and health problems. Then I needed to talk about social problems. These sentences are about social problems. And then I give his conclusion, which is how do we solve this problem? So these are the pieces of a summary paragraph. Kermit the Frog, as awesome as he is, he's not a journalist, so I made this up because I'm not going to write a summary of Michael Pollan. I need you to do that work, and I need you to trust yourself that you can do it. You just need to follow the steps that I've given you in this lecture and in the previous lecture, and you'll be fine. So that's how you make sure your paraphrases work. This is how you make sure your summary is awesome. Don't forget cabin. Is your summary concise? Is it accurate? Is it balanced? Oh, I stopped yelling at you. Balanced, is it independent? Is it neutral? Right? It needs to be all three of these things. And this is short. It makes sense as a paragraph. Okay, she's summarizing this argument. Sugar is killing us. And these are all somebody else's ideas because she's got these signal phrases. It's accurate. You're just going to have to believe me on that. It's neutral. You have no idea how I feel about Kermit Frog's argument. I didn't use any verbs like it's a, or adjectives like it's a good argument, it's a bad argument, he's smart, he's stupid. I didn't use any words that express judgment. It's balanced, and you get that sense from these two big topics in the restatement of the thesis. They're present, as well as a solution, and solutions to problems and arguments usually come at the end. And it's independent. It makes sense on its own. So don't forget any of the steps. Don't forget our criteria. You know, you're going to write your first summary this week. Don't be nervous about it. I'm sure you can do it. But if you need help at all in any moment of the process, just get in touch with me. Thanks for watching.